Hello everyone, I'm the Storyteller, bringing you stories that draw you into the darkness and sink you into sleep. Please like, subscribe to the channel and share. Where are you at right now? Come on, wrap yourself in a blanket, let your mind unwind. The lab's fluorescent lights buzzed softly, casting a sterile glow over machines that hummed with secrets. A strange device pulsed in the shadows, its light whispering truths from worlds unseen. The air grew heavy, charged with possibility, as if reality itself held its breath, waiting for me to step beyond. The hum of fluorescent lights filled the lab, a sterile symphony that usually grounded me, but tonight it felt like a warning. I lingered in the research wing of quantum dynamics, the office deserted save for the faint glow of computer screens, my colleagues long gone. My project on quantum entanglement was overdue, and I'd stayed late, combing through data, when I noticed Dr. Kessler's door ajar, a sliver of blue light spilling into the hall. Kessler, our lead physicist, was secretive, his office off-limits, but curiosity tugged at me, sharper than caution. I pushed the door open, my sneakers silent on the tiled floor, and stepped into a room that didn't belong in our world. The office was a chaos of papers and equipment, but at its center stood a device, a metallic sphere no larger than a grapefruit, suspended in a cradle of wires, pulsing with a soft azure glow. Its surface was etched with symbols, their lines fluid, almost alive, shifting under my gaze like ripples in water. The air was thick, charged with a low hum that vibrated in my chest, the scent of ozone sharp and metallic. I shouldn't have been here, but the sphere called to me, its light hypnotic, urging me closer, whispering my name in a voice I felt rather than heard. Eleanor. I reached out, my fingers trembling, brushing the sphere's surface, warm and smooth, like living metal. The hum surged, the symbols flaring, and a jolt shot through me. Not pain, but knowledge. A flood of images and sounds that burned into my mind. I saw worlds, skies of liquid fire, cities of glass that floated in voids, beings of light and shadow, their voices a chorus of truths I couldn't grasp. My knees buckled, the lab fading, the sphere's glow swallowing everything, its whispers now a chant. See, know, join. I yanked my hand back, gasping, but the visions lingered, etched in my thoughts, a map to realities beyond my own. The lab snapped back, the sphere dimming, but the air was heavier, the hum now a pulse, like a heartbeat. I stumbled to Kessler's desk, my hands shaking, searching for answers. His notes were scrawled in a frantic hand, diagrams of the sphere, equations I didn't recognize, words like trans-dimensional bridge and ancient's relic. One page stood out, circled in red. Activation binds the user. They will come. My stomach churned, the realization sinking in. I'd triggered something, and it wasn't just a machine. The whispers returned, louder, not from the sphere, but from inside me, urging me to touch it again, to open the way. Footsteps echoed in the hall, heavy, deliberate, not Kessler's cautious tread, but something else. Something wrong. I froze, the lab's lights flickering, the hum growing erratic, the symbols on the sphere pulsing in time with the steps. "Who's there?" I called, my voice cracking. But the footsteps didn't pause. Now at the door, a shadow looming through the frosted glass. Tall, too thin, its outline shifting, not human. My heart pounded, the whispers screaming now. Run! They come! I grabbed Kessler's notebook, stuffing it into my bag, and backed toward the rear exit, my eyes locked on the door. The shadow moved, the door creaking open, revealing a figure, cloaked, its face hidden, eyes glowing like twin stars, its presence cold, suffocating. "You've seen," it rasped, its voice a hiss, layered with echoes, vibrating in my skull. I bolted, slamming through the exit, the hallway a maze of white walls and locked doors, the figure's footsteps echoing behind, faster, relentless. The lab's lights flickered, plunging into darkness, then flaring back, each pulse disorienting, the building twisting, corridors stretching, as if reality bent to trap me. I ran, my breath ragged, the notebook heavy in my bag, the whispers a cacophony, guiding me, warning me. The figure's voice followed closer. "You cannot unsee. You are ours." I hit a stairwell, taking steps 2 at a time, my legs burning, the air cold, thick with that metallic tang. The building seemed alive, doors rattling, lights pulsing, the walls etched with faint symbols, like those on the sphere, glowing softly, watching. I reached the basement, a labyrinth of storage and utility rooms, the footsteps now a thunderous echo, the figure's shadow stretching across the walls, its eyes burning through the dark. I ducked into a maintenance closet, the door ajar, my body pressed against a wall of pipes, my breath shallow. The whispers, now a plea. "Find the gate." The figure paused outside, its shadow filling the doorway, its voice a low growl. "You've opened the path. There's no escape." My hand brushed something, a panel, warm, humming, its surface etched with symbols. I pressed it, desperation overriding fear, and the walls slid open, revealing a chamber, its walls alive with glowing runes, a circular frame at its center, pulsing with blue light, a portal to somewhere else. I hesitated, the figure's footsteps closer, its shadow now inches from the door, its voice a snarl. "You belong to us." The portal's light pulsed, the whispers urging, "Step through." I had no choice. The figure's hand reached into the closet, its fingers long, claw-like, glowing with that same eerie light. I dove through the portal, the air ripping around me, a rush of cold and heat, my body weightless, the world dissolving into a kaleidoscope of colors and sounds. The whispers became a chorus, guiding me, their words clear now. "You are the key." I landed hard, the portal's light fading, my body aching on a cold metallic floor. The chamber was vast, its walls shimmering with patterns that shifted like stars, the air humming with energy, alive. Figures stood around me, not the cloaked pursuer, but people, human, their faces weary but kind, their clothes a mix of modern and strange, as if from different times. A woman, her eyes sharp, extended a hand. "Welcome, Eleanor," she said, her voice calm, knowing. "You've crossed the threshold." I scrambled to my feet, clutching the notebook, my mind reeling. "Where am I?" I gasped, the chamber's walls pulsing, the air thick with possibility. "You've activated the relic," she said, gesturing to a device like Kessler's sphere, glowing softly in a cradle. "It's a key to realities, a bridge to the multiverse. We're researchers like you, drawn here by its call." Her name was Mira, her team a collective from countless worlds, studying the ancients' relics, mapping realities, seeking truths beyond our own. The knowledge I'd glimpsed, the worlds, the beings, was real, theirs to explore, but dangerous, guarded by entities like the one that chased me. They protect the relics, Mira said, her voice grim. You've seen one. It won't stop. I tried to process it, the notebook's pages now glowing faintly, its equations alive, guiding me. Mira showed me their work, devices that bent time, maps of realities, records of the ancients, beings who built the relics, their motives lost to time. My mind expanded, the visions from the sphere clarifying, a tapestry of worlds I could now navigate. But fear lingered. The entity's eyes, its voice, the certainty it was still coming. "Can it follow me?" I asked, my voice trembling. Mira's gaze darkened. "It knows you now. We'll protect you, but you must choose, stay, learn, or return, and risk it finding you." I chose to stay, not out of bravery, but necessity. The thought of returning, of facing those glowing eyes in my world was unbearable. Mira's team taught me, their knowledge a flood, my role as a researcher evolving, my life now tied to the multiverse. We moved through realities, worlds of crystal seas, of endless storms, of cities that sang, each mission a step toward understanding the ancients, their relics, their warnings. But the entity's presence lingered, a shadow at the edge of every reality, its voice in my dreams, whispering my name, promising to claim me. Days, weeks, years. I don't know how time works here. Its flow fluid, my memories of Earth fading, replaced by the hum of the relics, the pulse of the multiverse. I'm part of something vast, a purpose I never imagined. But the cost is heavy. My reflection in the chamber's walls isn't always mine. Sometimes it's the entity's face, its eyes glowing, its smile a promise. The notebook, still with me, glows brighter, its pages endless, guiding me, but also binding me, a tether to the entity's will. I see Earth sometimes, in glimpses through the portals, a street, a face, my old lab, but I don't step through. The entity waits there, I know, its shadow stretching across realities, patient, eternal. Mira says we'll face it one day, end its hunt, but I'm not ready, not yet. The relics hum, the worlds call, and I move forward, a researcher, a wanderer, carrying truths I can't unlearn. But at night, when the chambers are quiet, I hear it, a soft hum, a whisper, my name, and I fear the day I turn to answer and find myself no longer me. Quiet inns hide ancient rituals. The Willow Creek Inn stood alone at the edge of a forgotten town, its weathered signs swaying in the wind, promising rest for weary travelers. I pulled into the gravel lot, my rental car's headlights cutting through the dusk, the surrounding pines casting long shadows that seemed to reach for me. A week-long road trip through the Pacific Northwest had left me exhausted, and this quaint inn found last minute online was a welcome sight. But as I stepped out, the air felt heavy, tinged with the scent of damp moss and something metallic, like rust. The town was silent, its few houses dark, their windows like empty eyes, watching my every move. The inn's porch creaked under my boots, the door opening before I could knock, revealing a woman, mid-50s, grey hair pulled tight, her smile warm but strained, her eyes too bright, glinting in the lamplight. "Welcome, traveller," she said, her voice soft but resonant, as if echoing from a deeper place. "I'm Margaret, the keeper here. You must be Nora." Her use of my name, unprompted, sent a prickle down my spine. I hadn't shared it when booking. I forced a nod, clutching my bag, the inn's warmth a stark contrast to the chill outside, but no less unsettling. Margaret led me to a room upstairs, the hallway lined with faded wallpaper, its floral pattern interspersed with strange symbols, spirals and jagged lines etched into the wood, barely visible in the dim light. The room was cozy, with a quilted bed and an antique dresser, but the symbols were here too, carved into the headboard, their edges smooth, as if worn by countless fingers. "Rest well," Margaret said, her smile tightening, her eyes lingering too long before she closed the door. I locked it, the click a small comfort, though the silence that followed was oppressive, broken only by the faint creak of the inn's frame. I unpacked, trying to shake the unease, blaming it on fatigue and the isolation of the town. But small things gnawed at me. The mirror above the dresser reflected the room, but its edges seemed warped, my reflection slightly off, as if delayed. The window, nailed shut, rattled despite the still air outside, and a faint hum, like a distant machine, pulsed through the walls, felt more than heard. I checked my phone. No signal, the battery draining faster than it should, the screen flickering with static. "Just an old building," I told myself, but my voice sounded hollow, swallowed by the room. Dinner was served downstairs, a single table set in a dining room lit by flickering candles, their light casting twisted shadows on the walls. Margaret and her husband, introduced as Amos, sat with me, their smiles identical, their eyes glinting with that same unnatural brightness. The food, stew, bread, wine, smelled rich, but carried a metallic undertone, like the air itself. They asked about my travels, my life, their questions probing, their voices oddly synchronized, as if rehearsed. "You're special, Nora," Amos said, his tone reverent, Margaret nodding. "The inn chose you." My stomach churned, their words not a compliment, but a claim. I excused myself, claiming fatigue, but the hum grew louder as I climbed the stairs, now a low chant. Words I couldn't grasp, coming from below. I peeked through the hallway's banister. The dining room was empty, but the candles flared, their shadows forming shapes, tall, thin, not human, moving in a slow circle. Margaret and Amos stood at the center, their hands raised, tracing symbols in the air, symbols like those on the walls, glowing faintly, pulsing in time with the chant. The air thickened, charged, the inn's walls creaking as if awakening. I retreated to my room, heart pounding, locking the door, but the chant followed, seeping through the walls, my name woven into its rhythm. Nora. Chosen. The symbols on the headboard glowed now, their light sickly green, crawling across the wood like vines. I grabbed my bag, ready to flee, but the door wouldn't budge, the lock stuck, the window rattling harder as if the inn refused to let me go. The chant swelled, the hum a roar, and the mirror's reflection changed, not me, but a figure, cloaked, its eyes glowing, its hand reaching out, cold against the glass. I backed away, tripping over the rug, my phone dead, the room warping. The walls bent, the ceiling stretched, the symbols flaring brighter, their light swallowing the candle's glow. A voice, ancient and layered, spoke from everywhere. "You are the bridge." The floor rippled, a void opening at the room's center, black and endless, its edges pulsing with the same green light, pulling at me, whispering my name. I screamed, clawing at the door, but the void's pull was stronger, my body slipping, the inn's chant a deafening roar, promising eternity if I surrendered. I fought the void's pull, my hands gripping the doorframe, splinters biting my palms. But the chant grew louder, the symbols' light blinding, their patterns searing into my mind. The figure in the mirror stepped closer, its cloaked form now half through the glass, its glowing eyes locked on mine, its voice merging with the chant, "Step through, Nora. Become." My legs trembled, the void's pull a tide, my memories, my life, my name, fading under its weight. Margaret and Amos appeared at the door, their faces blank, eyes glowing, hands outstretched, their chant a command. Feed the ancients. Cross the veil. Desperation flared, a spark of defiance against the void's call. I wasn't theirs, not yet. I grabbed the dresser's lamp, its weight solid, and smashed it against the mirror, the glass shattering, the figure shrieking, its form dissolving into mist. The void wavered, the chant faltering, but the symbols pulsed faster, the inn's walls groaning as if angry. I yanked at the door, the lock giving way, and bolted down the hall, the stairs a blur, the chant chasing me, now a scream, the void's pull still tugging at my soul. The dining room was a nightmare. Locals filled the space, their faces pale, eyes glowing, hands tracing symbols that flared in the air, the void now a gaping maw in the floor, its edges rippling, pulling at everything. Margaret and Amos stood at its centre, their chants a roar, their forms wavering, as if half in this world, half elsewhere. "You can't leave!" Margaret snarled, her voice no longer human, layered with countless others. I dodged their grasping hands, my bag slipping, and sprinted for the front door, the inn shaking, the walls bending, the void's hum a pulse in my chest. The door wouldn't budge, its handle burning cold, but I kicked it, wood splintering, and stumbled into the night, the gravel lot slick underfoot, the pines looming like sentinels. The locals poured after me, their chants a deafening roar, their glowing eyes piercing the dark, shadows lunging from the fog. Not human, not animal, but something older, their forms massive, their hunger palpable. I ran, my lungs burning, the town twisting around me, streets looping, houses vanishing, as if Willow Creek reshaped itself to trap me. The fog thickened, the void's pull stronger, whispering promises of power, eternity, if I gave in. My legs faltered, the ground trembling, the chants now inside my head, my name a mantra. Then a light. Headlights, faint but growing, a car roaring through the fog. I waved frantically, screaming, and it screeched to a halt, the driver's face pale, shocked. "Get in!" he shouted, a stranger, his voice trembling. I dove into the passenger seat, the car lurching forward, the locals' screams fading, the fog parting as we hit the town's edge. The barrier was there, an invisible wall, the air shimmering, the chants peaking, a force pushing back. "Hold on!" the driver yelled, flooring the gas, the car shuddering as we broke through, a jolt like lightning, the fog dissolving, the highway clear under starlight. I gasped, trembling, the void's pull gone, but its whisper lingered, soft in my ears. The driver, Tom, didn't ask questions, his hands tight on the wheel, muttering about that cursed town as he dropped me at a motel, refusing payment, speeding off into the night. I tried to move on, took a bus home, avoided small towns, but Willow Creek clings to me. The chants echo in my dreams, the voids pull a faint tug, urging me back. My reflection isn't always mine. Sometimes it's the figure's face, its eyes glowing, its smile promising eternity. I found a mark on my palm, faint like a spiral, warm to the touch, pulsing when I'm alone. I keep my windows locked, my lights on, but it's no use. The whispers are in me. The void's call a constant hum, my name on its lips. Sometimes at dusk I hear gravel crunching outside, see fog curling at the edges of my street, and feel the inn's presence, not gone but waiting, its rituals unfinished. I don't know if I escaped or if I'm still there, caught in the void, my life a shadow of what was. The world feels thin, fragile, as if one step could take me back into the dark, where the ancients wait, their hunger eternal, their bridge unclaimed. I fear I'm not free, that I never will be, and the next knock at my door will be theirs. Cursed mirrors hold trapped souls. The new apartment felt like a fresh start, its clean lines and hardwood floors a stark contrast to the chaos of my old life. I'd signed the lease sight unseen, desperate to escape a string of bad luck, and moved in under a grey October sky, the city's hum a distant comfort. But as I unpacked my boxes, a chill settled in the air, not from the open window, but from a sense of being watched, the silence too heavy, tinged with a faint metallic scent like old iron. The landlord had mentioned the place was quirky, but the unease creeping up my spine felt like more than old pipes. The living room was sparse, just my couch and a coffee table, but a large antique mirror dominated one wall, its ornate frame carved with spiraling symbols, their edges worn but sharp, glinting in the lamplight. It was beautiful, but wrong, too heavy for the room, its glass faintly clouded, as if holding a breath. I ran a finger along the frame, the wood warm, almost pulsing, and caught my reflection, but it seemed off, my eyes too dark, my smile delayed, as if the mirror showed someone else. I laughed, blaming jet lag, but the prickle at my neck didn't fade. That night I woke to a soft tapping, like knuckles on glass, coming from the living room. My clock read 3:14 a.m. The apartment dark, the city outside silent. I sat up, heart thudding, the tapping persistent, rhythmic. Tap, tap, tap. "Just the building settling," I whispered, but my voice trembled, the air colder now, my breath visible. I grabbed my phone, its flashlight casting a shaky beam, and crept to the living room. The tapping stopped as I entered, the mirror looming in the dark, its glass shimmering as if lit from within. I approached, the floor creaking underfoot, and peered into the mirror. My reflection stared back, but behind it a shadow moved, vague, human-shaped, its edges blurring, its eyes glowing faintly, like embers in fog. I gasped, stepping back, the shadow mimicking me, its smile twisting, not mine. The tapping resumed, now from the mirror, loud, insistent, the glass vibrating, the symbols on the frame glowing with a sickly green light. "Who's there?" I called, my voice cracking, but the shadow only tilted its head, its eyes boring into mine, whispering my name. "Sophie." I fled to my bedroom, locking the door, my phone's battery draining, no signal to call for help. The tapping followed, now in the walls, circling the room, joined by a low hum, felt in my chest, like a heartbeat not my own. I clutched a kitchen knife, its weight a frail shield, my mind racing, old pipes, bad wiring, anything rational. But the hum grew, the air thick, a cold breath brushing my neck, whispering, "Look, see?" I avoided the bedroom mirror, its glass smaller but carved with the same symbols, now pulsing faintly, watching. The next day I tried to ignore it, blaming a nightmare, but the apartment felt different. Shadows lingered in corners, the air heavy, the metallic scent stronger. The living room mirror was unavoidable, its glass clearer, my reflection normal, but the shadow flickered at its edges, waiting. I called the landlord, demanded answers, but he laughed it off, said the mirror was part of the charm, hung up when I pressed. Online forums mentioned the building's history, tenants leaving abruptly, whispers of a curse, but no details, as if the truth was buried. I avoided the mirror, covered it with a sheet, but the tapping returned each night, louder, the shadow bolder, now stepping closer in the glass, its form clearer. A woman, pale, her face gaunt, her eyes glowing, her hands pressing against the mirror's surface, leaving faint smudges. The whispers grew, not one voice but many, pleading, "Free us, blood for blood." I researched, desperate, finding fragments of lore, mirrors as gateways, trapping souls, bound by blood, freed by sacrifice. My fear deepened. The apartment no longer mine, its walls a cage, the mirror a door I didn't dare open. By the third night, I couldn't sleep. The tapping a drumbeat, the hum a roar, the shadows now in every reflection, windows, screens, even my coffee mug. I uncovered the mirror, facing the woman, her eyes desperate, her voice clear. "Give your blood. Break the curse." The cymbals flared, the glass rippling, the hum vibrating in my bones. I hesitated, knife in hand, the whispers a chorus, promising freedom for us all. My heart pounded, fear and resolve warring, the shadow's hand reaching through the glass, cold against my arm, pulling me toward the void within. I yanked my arm back, the shadow's touch burning, the whispers screaming, "Blood for blood." The mirror shook, its glass bulging, the cymbals pulsing faster, their light searing my eyes. The woman's face pressed against the glass, her lips moving, her voice a plea. "Free us, or join us." My hand trembled, the knife's edge glinting, my reflection now hers, our faces merging, her glowing eyes mine. The apartment warped, walls bending, the floor rippling, the hum now a deafening roar, the air thick with the metallic scent, like blood spilled long ago. I had to act, or the mirror would claim me. I pressed the knife to my palm, wincing as blood welled, the pain sharp, grounding. "If this is what you need," I whispered, smearing my blood on the mirror's frame, the cymbals flaring brighter, the glass vibrating, cracking at the edges. The woman's eyes widened, her scream blending with the whispers, a chorus of anguish and hope. The mirror shattered inward, not outward, its shards vanishing into a void, black and endless, its edges pulsing with green light. The shadows surged, figures spilling out, men, women, children, their faces pale, eyes glowing, their forms half real, drifting like smoke. The void pulled at me, a tide of cold and hunger, the whispers now a chant. "Thank you. Free." I stumbled back, my bloodied hand burning, the figures circling, their hands brushing me, cold but gentle, their eyes grateful yet sorrowful. The woman, clearer now, her face young but worn, spoke. "You've broken the curse. We're free." But her smile faltered, her form wavering as if the void still held her. The apartment shook, the walls groaning, the void's pull weakening but not gone, its light flickering, the hum fading to a whisper. I ran, the figures parting, their forms dissolving into mist, the void collapsing with a sound like a dying breath. The front door was open, the hallway clear, the city's lights a beacon beyond. I sprinted outside, the cool air a shock, the street alive with normalcy. Cars, voices, life. I collapsed on the sidewalk, gasping, my hand still bleeding, the knife lost, the apartment dark behind me. Sirens wailed, neighbors gathered, their faces blurred, their questions distant. I told the police about the mirror, the shadows, but they found nothing, just broken glass, no symbols, no void. My story dismissed as a breakdown. I moved out the next day, took a new apartment far from that building, but the experience clings like damp rot. The landlord claimed the mirror was gone, replaced, but I don't believe him. My dreams are filled with the woman's face, her glowing eyes, the void's pull, the whispers thanking me, but also warning, it's not over. I check my palm, the scar faint but warm, pulsing when I'm alone, a reminder of the blood I gave, the curse I broke or didn't. The city feels different now, too bright, too loud, as if I'm out of place. Mirrors scare me. I avoid them, cover them, but sometimes in a shop window, a car's side mirror, I see them, not my reflection, but theirs, the shadows, their eyes glowing, watching. The whispers follow, soft, at the edge of hearing, my name a plea, a promise. I keep my lights on, my doors locked, but it's no use. The scar burns, the hum returns, faint, like a heartbeat not mine. I've searched for answers, old books, occult forums, finding whispers of mirrors as gateways, souls trapped by ancient rites, freed by blood, but never truly gone. The woman's face haunts me, her gratitude laced with sorrow, as if she knew the curse wasn't fully broken, that I carry it now, a piece of the void in me. I don't look in mirrors anymore, but I feel them, their pull, their eyes, waiting for me to glance too long, to step back into their world. Sometimes at night I hear it, a soft tap, like knuckles on glass, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I don't look, don't answer, but the scar pulses, the whispers call, and I fear the truth. The souls are free, but the void isn't empty. Something else was trapped, something older, and my blood didn't just break the curse, it opened a door. I'm not sure if I'm safe, if I ever will be, and the next tap might be the one that pulls me through into the dark forever. Diners hide keepers of unseen truths. The neon sign of the Starlight Diner buzzed faintly, its red glow casting a sickly sheen over the empty parking lot. The only light in the pre-dawn hush of the city. I wiped down the counter, the clock ticking past 4 a.m., my shift dragging through the quiet hours when the world seemed to hold its breath. Working the graveyard shift at this 24-hour dive wasn't glamorous, but it paid the bills, and the solitude suited me. Until I noticed them. The regulars who were always here, no matter the hour, their presence a puzzle I couldn't ignore. The air was heavy tonight, tinged with the scent of coffee and something metallic, like static before a storm. They sat in the same booths every night. The old man with a fedora, his eyes hidden under the brim. The woman in a faded dress, her fingers tracing invisible patterns on the table. The young guy in a hoodie, his gaze fixed on a coffee cup that never emptied. They ordered the same, black coffee, pie, no conversation, but never ate, their plates untouched, their eyes glinting when they thought I wasn't looking. I'd catch them staring, not at me, but through me, as if seeing something beyond the diner's checkered floors and vinyl seats. "Weirdos," I muttered, but my voice trembled, the diner's silence too deep, its hum of fluorescent lights a faint pulse in my ears. I started keeping notes, scribbling in a napkin when the manager wasn't around. They came at odd hours, stayed till dawn, left no tips, no trace, their faces familiar yet wrong, like photos faded by time. I checked the receipts, always paid in cash, always exact change, no names, no cards. One night I followed the old man to the lot, his shadow stretching too long, his steps silent on the gravel. He vanished into the fog, no car, no sound, just gone. My heart thudded, the diner's glow dimming behind me, the air colder, the metallic scent sharper, like blood or iron. "Curious, aren't you, Jake?" the woman said the next night, her voice low, resonant, catching me off guard as I refilled her coffee. I froze, my name unspoken to her, her eyes now visible, pale, almost glowing, unblinking like stars in a void. The others looked up, their smiles tight, synchronized, their gazes boring into me. "You've noticed us?" the young guy said, his voice echoing hers, his coffee cup steaming though I hadn't touched it. The old man tilted his fedora, revealing eyes that matched theirs, glinting with a light that wasn't human. "We're the gatekeepers," he said, the word heavy, final, as if it carried the weight of worlds. I laughed, nervous, backing toward the counter, the diner's air thicker, the hum louder, vibrating in my chest. "Gatekeepers of what?" I asked, my voice shaking, the knife in my apron pocket a frail comfort. The woman leaned forward, her fingers still tracing patterns, now glowing faintly, symbols forming in the air, spiraling, alive. "Of reality," she said, her voice a chorus, layered with voices not her own. "We hold the seams, keep the worlds apart, and we need you." My stomach churned, their eyes locking onto me, the diner's walls seeming to pulse, the light flickering, as if reality itself wavered. They spoke in unison, their voices a chant, explaining their role, guardians of the multiverse, maintaining the barriers between realities, preventing chaos from spilling through. Their words flooded my mind, images flashing, worlds of fire, of shadow, of endless voids, each held by their will, their vigilance. "We're tired," the old man said, his smile fading, his eyes weary but sharp. "New keepers are chosen." "You've seen us, Jake. You can't unsee." The symbols flared, the diner's floor rippling, a faint hum rising, not from the lights, but from them, their presence a weight I couldn't shake. I backed away, heart pounding, the counter digging into my spine. "I'm just a waiter," I stammered, but the young guy stood, his hoodie falling, revealing a face too smooth, too perfect, his eyes glowing brighter. "You're more," he said, stepping closer, the others rising, their movements synchronized, their hands outstretched, fingers long, glowing with that same eerie light. The diner's walls bent, the ceiling stretched, the hum now a roar, the air thick with the metallic scent, like a storm about to break. I gripped the knife, my hand trembling, but their smiles didn't waver, their chant pulling at my mind. "Join us. See." The door was too far, the windows nailed shut, the diner a cage. I bolted for the kitchen, the only exit, their footsteps echoing, not running but gliding, their voices a chorus. "You can't run from truth." The kitchen was dark, the back door locked, the hum deafening, the symbols now on the walls, glowing, pulsing, alive. I fumbled with the lock, my hands slick with sweat, the air cold, a whisper brushing my ear. "Accept your role." The door gave way, but not to the alley. Beyond was a void, black and endless, its edges rippling, calling my name. I stumbled back, the void's pull a tide, The gatekeepers chant a roar, their glowing eyes piercing the dark, their hands inches from me. "Join or be lost," the woman said, her voice now inside my head, her symbols flaring, spiraling toward the void, a bridge to somewhere else. Panic surged, my mind screaming against their call, but the images returned, worlds colliding, realities bleeding, their voices promising purpose, eternity if I surrendered. The knife slipped from my hand, clattering to the floor, my resolve wavering. The void's hum a pulse in my chest, urging me to step through. A spark of defiance flared. I wasn't theirs, not yet. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall, its weight solid, and swung it at the nearest figure, the young guy, his form wavering as it struck, his scream a high-pitched wail, not human. The others faltered, their chant breaking, the void's pull weakening. I dove for the door again, twisting the lock, and this time it opened to the alley, the cold air a shock, the city's lights a beacon. I ran, gravel crunching underfoot, their screams fading, the diner's glow receding, but the hum lingered soft in my ears. I didn't stop. Sprinting through the city, the streets alive with dawn's first light, people staring as I collapsed at a bus stop, gasping, my hands trembling. I quit the diner that day, ignored the manager's questions, avoided the lot, but the gatekeepers' faces haunted me, their glowing eyes in every shadow, their chant in every quiet moment. I moved, took a day job, tried to forget, but the world felt different, too sharp, too fragile, as if I saw through its seams, glimpsed the chaos they held back. My dreams were theirs, worlds of fire, of shadow, their voices calling, "Jake, you're ours." Weeks later I saw them again, not in the diner, but in a crowd, their faces unchanged, their eyes glinting, watching. I ran, but they were everywhere, on buses, in stores, their smiles tight, their hands tracing symbols only I could see. One night, alone in my new apartment, the hum returned, not from outside but within, a pulse in my chest, warm, alive. My reflection in the window wasn't mine, my face, but their eyes, glowing, their chant in my ears. "You can't refuse, you've seen." I fought it, locked my doors, covered my mirrors, but the hum grew, the symbols appearing, on walls, in dreams, etched in my mind. The city's lights flickered, the air thick with that metallic scent, the world bending as if their reality bled through. I found a mark on my wrist, faint, like a spiral, warm to the touch, pulsing when I closed my eyes. Their voices were clear now, not a threat but a promise. "Join us and see." I resisted, but each night the hum was louder, the worlds clearer, their truths a weight I couldn't unlearn. One night I couldn't fight anymore. The hum was a roar, the symbols flaring in my apartment, the air rippling, a void opening, not black but bright, a kaleidoscope of worlds, their voices welcoming. "Step through, gatekeeper." I stepped forward, not out of fear, but need, the city dissolving, the void a rush of light and sound, my body weightless, my mind expanding. I landed in a place of endless horizons, worlds overlapping, their seams held by my will, my role clear. I was a gatekeeper, bound to their cause, seeing truths no one should. I'm still here in this between place, my eyes glowing, my hands tracing symbols that hold realities apart. The diner, the city, my life. They're distant, like shadows on a screen, glimpsed through the seams I guard. I see the gatekeepers now, my kin, their faces weary but resolute, their chants my own, keeping chaos at bay. But the cost is heavy. My name, my past, fading, replaced by the hum, the pulse, the truths I carry, too vast, too heavy. Sometimes I see the diner in my visions, its neon sign buzzing, a new waiter wiping the counter, unaware of the regulars, their glowing eyes watching, waiting. I want to warn them, to scream, but my voice is the chant, my will the barrier, my life no longer mine. The worlds are endless, their secrets mine to guard, but I fear the day the seams break, and I'm not strong enough to hold them. The hum is my heartbeat now, the chant my breath, and I'm not sure if I'm a guardian or a prisoner, forever bound to the unseen truths. Abandoned ruins conceal forgotten cults. The forest closed around me like a fist, its dense canopy swallowing the last rays of daylight as I trudged deeper into the wilderness. My week-long hiking trip through the Cascades was meant to clear my head, a solitary escape from the grind of city life, but the trail markers had vanished hours ago, leaving me disoriented among towering pines and tangled underbrush. My pack dug into my shoulders, my boots sinking into the damp earth, the air thick with the scent of moss and something sour, like decay. A chill prickled my skin, not from the evening cold, but from a growing sense that the forest was watching, its silence too absolute, its shadows too alive. I checked my compass, its needle jittering, useless. My phone long dead, its screen a blank void. "Keep moving, Lucas," I muttered, my voice swallowed by the trees, their branches creaking as if in response, whispering secrets I couldn't decipher. I'd hiked these mountains before, but this felt different. The forest wasn't just vast, it was deliberate, guiding me somewhere I wasn't meant to go. My flashlight's beam cut through the gloom, catching glints of something ahead, a structure, man-made, hidden among the trees. Hope flared, mingled with unease, as I pushed forward, the pines parting to reveal a cluster of dilapidated buildings, a forgotten settlement, crumbling under the weight of time. The settlement was a ghost, its cabins sagging, their windows shattered, vines strangling the rotting wood. A central clearing held a stone altar, its surface etched with spiraling symbols, their lines jagged, pulsing faintly in the fading light. The air was heavier here, charged with a low hum, felt in my chest, like a heartbeat not my own. I stepped closer, my boots crunching on brittle leaves, and saw signs of recent use: candles, melted to stubs, scattered bones, and a faint metallic scent, like blood long dried. My stomach churned, the symbols seeming to shift, forming eyes, hands, faces that vanished when I blinked. I should have turned back, but curiosity, or something deeper, pulled me into the nearest cabin. Inside, the air was stale, thick with dust, the walls covered in more symbols, scratched into the wood, some glowing softly, their light sickly green. A table held artifacts: a rusted dagger, a cracked chalice, pages of parchment scrawled with words in a language I didn't know. Yet they tugged at my mind, whispering my name. Lucas. I backed away, heart pounding, the hum growing louder, the symbols flaring, as if awakened by my presence. The cabin's shadows moved, not with my flashlight but against it, tall and thin, their edges blurring, watching. I fled the cabin, the clearing now darker, the altar's symbols glowing brighter, the hum a low chant, words I couldn't grasp but felt in my bones. My flashlight flickered, its beam weakening, the forest tightening around me, its whispers now a chorus, urging me to stay. I checked my map. Useless. The settlement unmarked, as if it didn't exist. The bones on the altar weren't animal, I realized, their shapes too human, too small. Panic surged, my mind screaming, cult, ritual, danger, but the forest's hum drowned it out, pulling me back to the altar, its light hypnotic, its chant promising answers if I surrendered. Footsteps crunched behind me, not mine, heavy, deliberate, coming from the trees. I spun, flashlight sweeping, catching a glimpse, a figure, tall, cloaked, its face hidden, eyes glowing like embers in the dark. "You found us," it rasped, its voice a hiss, layered with countless others, vibrating in my skull. I stumbled back, tripping over roots, the figure moving closer, its form flickering, sometimes human, sometimes something else, its shadow stretching too long, too alive. The forest came alive, shadows surging from the trees, their eyes glowing, their whispers a scream. "Stay! Join!" I ran, the flashlight's beam bouncing, the forest a maze, branches whipping my face, roots snagging my boots. The figures followed, their footsteps a thunderous echo, their chants a roar, the symbol's light flaring in the trees, as if the forest itself hunted me. My lungs burned, my legs screamed. The hum now inside me, a pulse urging me to stop, to give in. I glanced back. The figures were closer, their cloaks billowing, their eyes burning, their hands reaching out, claws glinting in the dark. The settlement was a trap, its cult not gone, but waiting, its hunger eternal, and I was their prey. I pushed harder, the forest's grip tightening, its shadows lunging, their claws grazing my jacket, cold as ice, burning where they touched. The chants swelled, a deafening roar, my name woven into their rhythm. Lucas, chosen. The trees seemed to move, closing paths, opening others, guiding me back to the clearing, the altar's light a beacon I couldn't escape. My flashlight died, plunging me into darkness, the symbol's glow the only guide, their light searing my eyes, pulling at my mind. I tripped, sprawling into the mud, my hands scraping bones, human, scattered, a warning of what awaited if I stayed. A spark of defiance flared. I wasn't theirs. I scrambled to my feet, clutching a jagged stone, its edges biting my palm, and swung it at the nearest figure, its scream a high-pitched wail, not human, its form wavering, dissolving into mist. The others faltered, their chants breaking, the hum weakening, but the forest fought back, roots rising, branches clawing, the air thick with the metallic scent, like blood freshly spilled. I ran, the clearing receding, the forest's maze loosening, a faint light ahead, not the altar's glow but dawn, breaking through the canopy, a lifeline in the endless dark. The figures' screams rose, their footsteps closer, their claws scraping the earth, the chants now a desperate plea. Stay, feed. I pushed through the underbrush, my body aching, the light growing, the forest's grip slipping. A road appeared, gravel crunching underfoot, a truck's headlights piercing the dawn, its engine a roar cutting through the chants. I waved frantically, screaming, and the truck screeched to a halt, the driver's face pale, shocked. "Get in!" he shouted, a grizzled man, his voice trembling. I dove into the cab, the door slamming, the truck lurching forward, the figure's screams fading, the forest retreating, its shadows swallowed by the light. The driver, Hank, didn't ask questions, his hands tight on the wheel, muttering about that cursed place as he sped toward town. I gasped my story, Lost, the settlement, the cult. But he nodded, as if he'd heard it before. "No one goes there," he said, voice grim. "Folks vanish. Been that way for generations." He dropped me at a gas station, the morning sun harsh, normalcy a jarring contrast to the night's terror. I hitched a ride home, abandoned my trip, but the forest's hum clings to me, its whispers in my ears, my name a chant I can't shake. I don't hike anymore, not in those mountains, not anywhere. The Cascades, once my sanctuary, now hold a terror I can't unsee. My friends think I'm paranoid, my hands trembling when I hear a twig snap, my eyes scanning for shadows that shouldn't be. I dream of the settlement, its altar glowing, the figures' eyes burning, their chants calling me back. Sometimes I wake to scratches on my arms, faint, like the symbols on that altar, gone by morning but warm to the touch, a reminder of the night I didn't belong to them, or did. I moved to the city, surrounded myself with noise, light, life, but it's not enough. At dusk, I catch glimpses in windows, a figure, too tall, too still, its eyes glowing through the fog, gone when I blink. The whispers follow, soft, persistent, my name on the wind, urging me to return. I keep a knife under my pillow, check the locks. But I know, if the forest wants me, no door will hold it. The settlement is out there, not abandoned but waiting, its cult alive, its hunger eternal, watching for the next wanderer to claim. I've searched for answers, old maps, local legends, finding whispers of a cult, worshippers of something ancient, feeding it through blood, bone, and fear. The settlement's name is missing from records, as if erased, but I feel it, its pulse in my chest, its chant in my dreams. I don't look at mirrors, don't trust reflections, but sometimes in a shop window I see them, not my face, but theirs, their glowing eyes, their smile promising eternity. The world feels thin now, fragile, as if one wrong step could take me back into the forest, to the altar, where the shadows wait, their claws ready. I hear it sometimes, a soft hum, like a heartbeat not mine, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I'm not sure if I escaped, if I'm free, or if I'm still there, caught in their chant, my life a shadow of what was. The forest knows my name, and I fear the day it calls me home to feed its endless hunger. Ancient caves guard forbidden treasures. The Amazon rainforest pressed against me, its canopy a suffocating veil, filtering the midday sun into a dim green haze. I hacked through vines, my machete's blade dulled by days of cutting, sweat soaking my shirt as I followed a faded map, a relic from a 19th century explorer's journal. Legends of a lost Incan treasure, a golden idol hidden in a cave, had drawn me here, a treasure hunter chasing glory, but the jungle's heat and endless chatter of insects wore at my resolve. The air was thick, humid, tinged with the scent of decay and something metallic, like blood baked into the earth. A prickle ran down my spine, the forest's silence sudden, as if it held its breath, watching. My GPS had failed days ago, its screen blank, my compass spinning wildly, but the map's crude sketch led me to a rocky outcrop, half hidden by moss and roots. A narrow cave mouth yawned beneath, its edges carved with spiraling symbols, their lines jagged, pulsing faintly in the shadows. My flashlight's beam caught glints of crystal within, the hum of the jungle fading as I stepped closer, the air colder, heavier, charged with a low vibration I felt in my chest. "This is it," I whispered, my voice swallowed by the cave, the symbols seeming to shift, forming eyes, hands that vanished when I blinked. I squeezed through the entrance, the passage tight, the walls slick with moisture, the metallic scent stronger, now mixed with something sour, like rot. The tunnel widened into a chamber, its walls etched with more symbols, glowing softly, their light sickly green, casting twisted shadows that moved against my beam. At the chamber's centre stood a stone pedestal, empty, but the air pulsed, the symbols flaring, as if mourning a missing idol. My heart raced, excitement warring with unease. This was no ordinary cave, no simple treasure. The hum grew, a chant now, words I couldn't grasp, whispering my name. Diego! I should have turned back, but greed or something deeper pushed me forward. I explored deeper, the tunnels branching, a maze of stone and shadow, the symbols guiding me, their glow brighter, their chant louder. The air thickened, the walls narrowing, the hum vibrating in my bones, urging me on. I found relics, golden trinkets, jade masks, scattered bones, their shapes human, too small, too numerous. My stomach churned, the realization dawning. This wasn't a treasure vault, but a shrine, a place of sacrifice, its purpose lost to time, but alive in the stone. The tunnels twisted, disorienting, the walls seeming to shift, closing paths, opening others, as if the cave reshaped itself. My flashlight flickered, its beam weakening, the symbols glow the only light, their chant now a chorus, pulling at my mind. I tripped, my hand brushing a wall, the symbols burning under my touch, a jolt shooting through me, not pain, but knowledge, images flashing, cloaked figures, blood on stone, a golden idol pulsing with light, a presence awakening, hungry. I yanked my hand back, gasping, the visions lingering, a warning I couldn't unsee. Footsteps echoed behind me, not mine, heavy, scraping, coming from the dark. I spun, flashlight sweeping, catching a glimpse, a figure, tall, its form blurred, eyes glowing like molten gold, its shadow stretching too long, too alive. "You've trespassed," it rasped, its voice ancient, layered, vibrating in my skull. I stumbled back, heart pounding, the figure moving closer, its form flickering, sometimes human, sometimes a mass of shadow and claw, its eyes boring into mine. The cave's chant swelled, the symbols flaring, the air a pulse, urging me to kneel, to offer myself. I ran, the flashlight's beam bouncing, the tunnels a labyrinth, walls shifting, closing in, the figure's footsteps a thunderous echo, its voice a snarl. "You cannot leave." My lungs burned, my legs ached, the symbols' light searing, their chant a roar, my name a mantra. Diego, feed. The cave was alive, its walls pulsing, its shadows lunging, their claws grazing my back, cold as ice, burning where they touched. I tripped again, sprawling into a chamber, the pedestal now before me, its empty surface glowing, the hum deafening, the figure's eyes blazing in the dark, promising eternity if I surrendered. I scrambled to my feet, clutching the machete, its blade a frail shield against the figure, its form now clearer, a skeletal frame, skin like cracked stone, claws glinting, its golden eyes pulsing with hunger. The chant roared, the symbols flaring, the pedestal's glow a beacon, pulling at me, whispering promises of power, immortality, if I gave in. "Offer yourself," the figure hissed, its voice a chorus, its claws reaching, the cave's walls closing in, the air thick with the metallic scent, like blood freshly spilled. My vision blurred, the visions returning, sacrifices, screams, the idol's light consuming all. Defiance surged. I wasn't its prey. I swung the machete, aiming for the figure, the blade passing through shadow, its scream a piercing wail, not human, its form wavering, dissolving into mist. The chant faltered, the symbols dimming, the pedestal's glow flickering, but the cave fought back, walls shifting, tunnels sealing, the hum a desperate roar. I ran, the machete slipping, my hands scraping stone, the figure reforming, its claws slashing, missing me by inches. The cave's maze tightened, paths vanishing, the symbol's light chasing me, their chant a scream. Stay! Feed! I pushed through, my body aching, the air colder, the hum now a pulse in my chest, urging me to stop. A faint light appeared ahead. Not the symbol's glow, but daylight, filtering through a crack, a lifeline in the endless dark. I squeezed through, thorns tearing my skin, the figure's scream rising, its claws scraping the stone, the chant a deafening plea, "You are ours." The crack widened, the jungle's heat hitting me, the cave's hum fading, the figure's eyes burning in the dark, promising to follow. I stumbled into the forest, collapsing in the mud, gasping, the daylight harsh, the jungle's chatter, a jarring return to reality. My pack was gone, the map, the machete, but I was out, alive. I staggered to a river, followed it to a village, the locals' faces pale as I told my story, their eyes knowing, their warnings clear. That cave is cursed. No one returns. They gave me food, a ride to a town, but the cave's hum clung to me, its chant in my ears, my name a whisper I couldn't shake. I flew home, abandoned treasure hunting, swore off jungles, but the cave's shadow follows. My dreams are its own, the pedestal glowing, the figure's eyes burning, the chant calling me back. I wake to scratches on my arms, faint, like the symbols on those walls, gone by morning but warm, alive, a mark of the curse I carry. My friends see the change, pale, jumpy, my eyes scanning for shadows that shouldn't be. I don't talk about it, but they know. Something came with me, something ancient, hungry. I moved to the city, surrounded myself with concrete, noise, light. But it's not enough. At dusk I catch glimpses in windows, a figure, too tall, its eyes glowing like molten gold, gone when I blink. The whispers follow, soft, persistent, my name on the wind, urging me to return. I keep a flashlight by my bed, check the locks, but I know, if the cave wants me, no door will hold it. The jungle is out there, its heart still beating, its hunger eternal, waiting for me to step back into its embrace. I've searched for answers, old texts, explorer logs, finding whispers of a cult, worshippers of a forgotten god, guarding a treasure that wasn't gold but power, a relic to awaken something ancient. The cave's name is missing from maps, as if erased, but I feel it, its pulse in my chest, its chant in my dreams. I don't trust mirrors, don't look at reflections, but sometimes, in a glass door, I see it, not my face, but its glowing eyes, its smile promising eternity. The world feels fragile now, as if one wrong step could take me back, into the cave, to the pedestal, where the figure waits, its claws ready. I hear it sometimes, a soft hum, like a heartbeat, not mine, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I'm not sure if I escaped, if I'm free, or if I'm still there, caught in its chant, my life a shadow of what was. The cave knows my name, and I fear the day it calls me home to feed its endless hunger. Unmarked crates conceal cursed relics. The warehouse loomed like a sleeping giant, its vast interior swallowed by shadows, the only sound the faint hum of fluorescent lights flickering overhead. I moved through the aisles, my boots echoing on the concrete, the clipboard in my hand listing the night's inventory tasks. Working the graveyard shift at this distribution center was mind-numbing, but it paid well, and the solitude suited me, until I found the crate, tucked in a corner of the overflow section, its wooden surface unmarked, no label, no barcode, just there, as if it had appeared from nowhere. The air was heavy, tinged with the scent of dust and something metallic, like old coins, a chill prickling my skin despite the stuffy warmth. I checked the manifest. Nothing about a stray crate, no record of its delivery. It was old, the wood weathered, carved with faint symbols, their lines jagged, spiraling, barely visible in the dim light. Curiosity tugged at me, sharper than caution. Protocol said to report it, but the manager was gone, the other workers on break, and the crate seemed to hum, a low vibration I felt in my chest, urging me to look inside. "Just a quick peek," I muttered, my voice swallowed by the warehouse, the symbols glinting as if watching. I pried the lid open with a crowbar, the wood groaning, revealing a velvet-lined interior, empty except for a small obsidian orb, its surface etched with the same spiraling symbols, glowing faintly with a sickly green light. The hum surged, the orb warm under my touch, its light pulsing, casting eerie shadows across the crates, the symbols on the wood flaring in response. A whisper filled the air, not from the orb, but from everywhere, a chorus of voices, low and guttural, speaking words I couldn't understand, yet they tugged at my mind, pulling me closer. My heart raced, my hand trembling, but I couldn't look away. The orb's glow hypnotic, its warmth spreading through my fingers. The warehouse seemed to fade, the aisles dimming, the hum now a chant, my name woven into its rhythm. Ryan. Images flashed, dark altars, cloaked figures, blood pooling on stone, the orb pulsing, a presence awakening. Hungry. I dropped the orb, but it didn't fall. It hovered, spinning slowly, the glow intensifying, bathing the aisle in green light. The air thickened, charged, like a storm about to break. I stumbled back, the crowbar clattering, the whispers swelling into a roar, the symbols crawling across the crate, alive, their light searing my eyes. Panic surged, my mind screaming to run, but my legs were led, rooted by the orb's pull. Footsteps echoed behind me, not mine, heavy, scraping, coming from the dark. I spun, flashlight sweeping, catching a glimpse, a figure, tall, its form blurred, eyes glowing like molten amber, its shadow stretching too long, too alive. "You've touched it," it rasped, its voice a hiss, layered with countless others, vibrating in my skull. I backed away, heart pounding, the figure moving closer, its form flickering, sometimes human, sometimes a mass of shadow and claw, its eyes boring into mine. The warehouse's hum swelled, the symbols flaring, the air a pulse, urging me to kneel, to offer myself. I bolted, the flashlight's beam bouncing, the aisles a maze of crates and pallets, the figure's footsteps a thunderous echo, its voice a snarl. "You cannot unsee." My lungs burned, my legs ached, the orb's glow chasing me, its light seeping through the crates, the whispers a scream. "Ryan, feed." The warehouse came alive, crates shifting, aisles narrowing, the shadows lunging, their claws grazing my back, cold as ice, burning where they touched. I tripped, sprawling onto the concrete, my hands scraping metal. A trapdoor hidden under a pallet, its surface etched with the same symbols, glowing, pulsing, a way out or a deeper trap. I yanked it open, the hinges groaning, revealing a ladder descending into darkness, the figure's scream rising, its claws scraping the crates, the chant a deafening plea. "Stay! Join!" I climbed down, the ladder shaking, my flashlight flickering, the hum now inside me, a pulse urging me to stop. The tunnel was tight, the walls slick, the metallic scent overwhelming like blood and rust. The figure's eyes burned above, its form filling the trapdoor, promising eternity if I surrendered. I pushed deeper, the tunnel branching, a labyrinth of stone and shadow, the symbols' glow guiding me, their chant a roar, my name a mantra. The tunnel twisted, the walls closing in, the figure's footsteps echoing above, its claws scraping the stone, its voice a chorus. "You've awakened it. You're ours." The orb's glow followed, seeping through the walls, its light pulsing, the symbols flaring, their patterns searing into my mind. My vision blurred, the visions returning, altars, sacrifices, the orb consuming souls, a presence stirring, its hunger endless. I fought the pull, my hands gripping the ladder, splinters biting my palms, but the chant grew louder, the hum a roar, the tunnel's air thick like breathing through water, urging me to give in. Defiance surged, I wasn't its prey. I dropped to the tunnel floor, clutching a loose rock, its edges sharp, and hurled it at the figure, its scream a piercing wail, not human, its form wavering, dissolving into mist. The chant faltered, the symbols dimming, the orb's glow flickering. But the tunnel fought back, walls shifting, paths sealing, the hum a desperate roar. I ran, the rock slipping, my hands scraping stone, the figure reforming, its claws slashing, missing me by inches. The tunnel's maze tightened, the glow chasing me, the whispers a scream. "Stay. Feed." A faint light appeared ahead, not the orb's glow, but daylight, filtering through a crack, a lifeline in the endless dark. I squeezed through, thorns tearing my skin, the figure's scream rising, its claws scraping the stone, the chant a deafening plea. "You are ours." The crack widened, the jungle's heat hitting me, the tunnel's hum fading, the figure's eyes burning in the dark, promising to follow. I stumbled into a clearing, collapsing in the dirt, gasping, the daylight harsh, the city's distant hum a jarring return to reality. I staggered to a road, flagged down a delivery truck, the driver's face pale as I told my story, warehouse, crate, figure, but he nodded as if he'd heard it before. "That place is bad news," he said, voice grim. "Things get lost there, not just crates." He dropped me at a motel, the morning sun a harsh relief, but the orb's hum clung to me, its chant in my ears, my name a whisper I couldn't shake. I quit the next day, ignored the manager's questions, avoided the warehouse, but the visions lingered, the figure's eyes in every shadow, its voice in every quiet moment. I moved far away, took a desk job, swore off night shifts, but the curse follows. My dreams are its own, the orb glowing, the figure's eyes burning, the chant calling me back. I wake to scratches on my arms, faint like the symbols on that crate, gone by morning but warm, alive, a mark of the thing I unleashed. My friends see the change, pale, jumpy, my eyes scanning for shadows that shouldn't be. I don't talk about it, but they know. Something came with me, something ancient, hungry. I've searched for answers, old shipping records, occult forums, finding whispers of relics, objects cursed to bind souls, guarded by entities that never sleep. The warehouse's logs show no crate, no delivery, as if it never existed. But I feel it, its pulse in my chest, its chant in my dreams. I don't trust mirrors, don't look at reflections, but sometimes in a glass door I see it. Not my face, but its amber eyes, its smile promising eternity. The world feels fragile now, as if one wrong step could take me back into the tunnel, to the orb, where the figure waits, its claws ready. I hear it sometimes, a soft hum, like a heartbeat not mine, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I'm not sure if I escaped, if I'm free, or if I'm still there, caught in its chant, my life a shadow of what was. The crate is out there, hidden, waiting for another to open it, to feed its endless hunger. I keep a hammer by my bed, check the locks, but it's no use. If the thing wants me, no door will hold it. The whispers grow louder, my name a plea, a promise, urging me to return. I fear the day I answer, the day the hum becomes my heartbeat, and I'm not me anymore, just a vessel for its curse, forever bound to the shadows I unleashed. Viled paintings harbour restless spirits. The museum's halls were a labyrinth of silence, their marble floors gleaming under the dim glow of security lights, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood and ancient dust. I moved through the galleries, my flashlight sweeping across artifacts and paintings, my nightly rounds as a security guard, a familiar routine. The old building, a relic of the city's past, creaked with every step, but tonight the silence felt wrong, too deep, too alive, as if the exhibits were watching. A chill prickled my skin, not from the draught, but from a sense of unease. The museum's shadows too sharp, tinged with a faint metallic tang, like blood long dried. In the storage wing, tucked behind a locked door, I found it, a painting covered with a heavy tarp, hidden in a corner of the cluttered room. No label, no record, just there, its presence jarring among the catalogued relics. Curiosity tugged at me, sharper than protocol. I should have reported it, but the tarp seemed to hum, a low vibration I felt in my chest, urging me to look. "Just a quick glance," I muttered, my voice swallowed by the room, the shadows seeming to lean closer, the air colder, heavier, as I gripped the tarp's edge. I pulled it back, revealing a canvas, large and dark, its surface painted with swirling blacks and greens, forming a figure, a cloaked shape, its face obscured, eyes glowing like embers, surrounded by spiraling symbols that pulsed faintly, their lines alive, shifting under my flashlight's beam. The air thickened, charged, the hum now a chant, low and guttural, whispering my name. "Clara!" My heart raced, my hand trembling, but I couldn't look away. The figure's eyes hypnotic, its glow seeping into me, pulling at my mind. The museum seemed to fade, the walls dimming, the chant louder, images flashing, dark rituals, cloaked figures, blood pooling on stone, the painting pulsing, a presence stirring, hungry. I stepped back, the tarp slipping, the whispers swelling into a roar, the symbols crawling across the canvas, alive, their light searing my eyes. Panic surged, my mind screaming to run, but my legs were led, rooted by the painting's pull. The figure moved, its cloaked form shifting, stepping closer within the canvas, its glowing eyes locking onto mine, its hand reaching out, cold against the glass-like surface. Footsteps echoed behind me. Not mine, soft, deliberate, coming from the dark. I spun, flashlight sweeping, catching a glimpse. A shadow, tall, cloaked, its eyes glowing like the paintings, its form flickering, half real, half mist. "You've seen me," it rasped, its voice a hiss layered with countless others, vibrating in my skull. I backed away, heart pounding, the shadow moving closer, its form mirroring the painting, its claws glinting, its eyes boring into mine. The museum's hum swelled, the symbols flaring, the air a pulse, urging me to kneel, to offer myself. I bolted, the flashlight's beam bouncing, the storage wing a maze of crates and relics. The shadow's footsteps a soft echo, its voice a snarl. "You cannot unsee." My lungs burned, my legs ached, the painting's glow chasing me, its light seeping through the walls, the whispers a scream. "Clara, feed." The museum came alive, doors slamming, lights flickering, the shadows lunging, their claws grazing my back, cold as ice, burning where they touched. I tripped, sprawling onto the marble, my hands scraping a hidden panel. A trap door, etched with the same symbols, glowing, pulsing, a way out or a deeper trap. I yanked it open, the hinges groaning, revealing a staircase descending into darkness, the shadow's scream rising, its claws scraping the crates, the chant a deafening plea. "Stay. Join." I climbed down, the staircase shaking, my flashlight flickering, the hum now inside me, a pulse urging me to stop. The tunnel was tight, the walls slick, the metallic scent overwhelming, like blood and rust. The shadow's eyes burned above, its form filling the trapdoor, promising eternity if I surrendered. I pushed deeper, the tunnel branching, a labyrinth of stone and shadow, the symbols' glow guiding me, their chant a roar, my name a mantra. The tunnel twisted, the walls closing in, the shadow's footsteps echoing above, its claws scraping the stone, its voice a chorus. "You've awakened me. You're mine." The painting's glow followed, seeping through the walls, its light pulsing, the symbols flaring, their patterns searing into my mind. My vision blurred, the visions returning, rituals, sacrifices, the painting consuming souls, a presence stirring, its hunger endless. I fought the pull, my hands gripping the staircase, splinters biting my palms. But the chant grew louder, the hum a roar, the tunnel's air thick, like breathing through water, urging me to give in. Defiance surged. I wasn't its prey. I dropped to the tunnel floor, clutching a loose brick, its edges sharp, and hurled it at the shadow, its scream a piercing wail, not human, its form wavering, dissolving into mist. The chant faltered, the symbols dimming, the painting's glow flickering, but the tunnel fought back, walls shifting, paths sealing, the hum a desperate roar. I ran, the bricks slipping, my hands scraping stone, the shadow reforming, its claws slashing, missing me by inches. The tunnel's maze tightened, the glow chasing me, the whispers a scream. "Stay, feed." A faint light appeared ahead, not the painting's glow but moonlight, filtering through a crack, a lifeline in the endless dark. I squeezed through, thorns tearing my skin, the shadow's scream rising, its claws scraping the stone, the chant a deafening plea. "You are mine!" The crack widened, the museum's courtyard hitting me, the night air a shock, the city's lights a beacon. I stumbled across the grass, collapsing near a fountain. gasping, the moonlight harsh, the museum's silence a jarring return to reality. I didn't return to work, called in sick, ignored the curator's questions, but the painting's shadow followed. I researched, desperate, finding whispers of a cursed artist, a 17th-century painter who bound spirits to his work, trapping them in canvas, their hunger eternal. The museum's records showed no painting, no delivery, as if it never existed, but I knew better. I broke in one night, armed with a knife, found the painting still there, its figure clearer, its eyes glowing, its hand pressed against the canvas, whispering my name. Clara. I slashed it, the canvas tearing, the figure's scream a wail, not human, its form dissolving into mist, the symbols flaring, then fading, the hum silenced. I burned the pieces in the courtyard, the flames green, the smoke thick with that metallic scent, the whispers fading but not gone. A faint plea in my ears. Thank you, but not free. The museum fired me. The police questioned me, but found nothing. Just ash, no painting, my story dismissed as madness. I moved far away, took a desk job, swore off museums, but the curse clings. My dreams are its own. The figure's eyes glowing, the chant calling me back, the canvas reforming, its hunger alive. I wake to scratches on my arms, faint like the symbols on that frame, gone by morning but warm, a mark of the thing I unleashed. My friends see the change, pale, jumpy, my eyes scanning for shadows that shouldn't be. I don't talk about it, but they know. Something came with me, something ancient, restless. I've searched for answers, old art records, occult texts, finding whispers of paintings as gateways, spirits trapped by blood and will, freed by fire, but never truly gone. The museum's logs show no trace, as if it was erased, but I feel it, its pulse in my chest, its chant in my dreams. I don't trust mirrors, don't look at reflections, but sometimes, in a glass door, I see it. Not my face, but its ember eyes, its smile promising eternity. The world feels fragile now, as if one wrong glance could take me back, into the painting, to the figure, where its claws wait, ready. I hear it sometimes, a soft whisper, like a breath not mine, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I'm not sure if I escaped, if I'm free, or if I'm still there, caught in its chant, my life a shadow of what was. The painting is gone, but its spirit isn't, watching, waiting for the day I look too long to pull me into its endless hunger. Haunted houses conceal ancient diaries. The old house on Harrow Lane loomed like a forgotten sentinel, its weathered facade cloaked in ivy, its windows dark, reflecting the moon's pale glow. I parked my van at the curb, my equipment, EMF meter, flashlight, notebook, ready for another night of paranormal investigation. Locals called it Cursed, a place where no one stayed long, its history steeped in whispers of vanishings and rituals. As I stepped onto the creaking porch, the air grew heavy, tinged with the scent of damp wood and something metallic, like blood long spilled. A chill prickled my skin, the silence too deep, as if the house was waiting, watching. The front door groaned open, revealing a foyer coated in dust, the air stale, thick with the weight of years. My flashlight's beams swept across peeling wallpaper and sagging stairs, catching glints of symbols etched into the wood, spirals and jagged lines, their edges pulsing faintly, barely visible. I'd investigated haunted sites before, but this felt different. The house wasn't just old, it was alive, its shadows too sharp, its hum low, vibrating in my chest. "Let's get to work, Emma," I muttered, my voice swallowed by the darkness, the symbols seeming to shift, forming eyes that vanished when I blinked. I set up my gear, the EMF meter spiking erratically, its needle dancing without reason. The first floor was a maze of cluttered rooms, furniture draped in sheets, portraits with faces scratched out, their eyes hollow, watching. In the parlour, I found it, a leather-bound journal hidden beneath a floorboard, its pages brittle, scrawled with frantic handwriting and symbols matching those on the walls. The entries spoke of a ritual, a pact with the ancients, blood offered to bind a presence, its hunger eternal. My heart raced, the hum louder, the journal's pages warm, as if alive, whispering my name. Emma. The house responded, its creaks becoming footsteps, not mine, soft, deliberate, echoing from upstairs. I froze, flashlight sweeping, catching a glimpse, a shadow, tall, cloaked, its eyes glowing like molten silver, its form flickering, half real, half mist. "You've read it," it rasped, its voice a hiss, layered with countless others, vibrating in my skull. I backed away, heart pounding, the shadow moving closer, its form shifting, sometimes human, sometimes a mass of shadow and claw, its eyes boring into mine. The house's hum swelled, the symbols flaring, the air a pulse, urging me to kneel, to offer myself. I bolted, the flashlight's beam bouncing, the parlour a trap of creaking floors and slamming doors, the shadow's footsteps a soft echo, its voice a snarl. "You cannot unlearn." My lungs burned, my legs ached, the journal's weight heavy in my bag, the symbols' glow chasing me, their light seeping through the walls, the whispers a scream. "Emma. Feed." The house came alive, furniture shifting, portraits falling, the shadows lunging, their claws grazing my back, cold as ice, burning where they touched. I tripped, sprawling onto the foyer, my hands scraping a hidden trapdoor, etched with symbols, glowing, pulsing, a way out or a deeper trap. I yanked it open, the hinges groaning, revealing a staircase descending into darkness. The shadow's scream rising, its claws scraping the walls, the chant a deafening plea, "Stay! Join!" I climbed down, the staircase shaking, my flashlight flickering, the hum now inside me, a pulse urging me to stop. The basement was a labyrinth of damp stone and cobwebs, the walls slick, the metallic scent overwhelming, like blood and decay. The shadow's eyes burned above, its form filling the trapdoor, promising eternity if I surrendered. I pushed deeper, the tunnel branching, a maze of shadow and stone, the symbols' glow guiding me, their chant a roar, my name a mantra. The journal slipped from my bag, its pages fluttering, the symbols flaring, the shadow's voice clearer. "You've read our truth. You're ours." I grabbed it, my hands trembling, the visions returning, rituals, blood, the ancient's presence awakening, its hunger consuming all. I tore a page, the paper burning my fingers, the shadow's scream piercing, not human, its form wavering. The chant faltered, the symbols dimming, but the house fought back, walls shifting, tunnels sealing, the hum a desperate roar. I ran, the journal's weight a burden, the shadow's claws slashing, missing me by inches. The tunnel twisted, the walls closing in, the shadow's footsteps echoing above, its claws scraping the stone, its voice a chorus. "You've invoked us. You're bound." The journal's glow followed, seeping through the walls, its symbols flaring, their patterns searing into my mind. My vision blurred, the visions intensifying, sacrifices, screams, the ancients' hunger endless, their eyes glowing through the dark. I fought the pull, my hands gripping the journal, its pages burning, the chant a roar, the tunnel's air thick, like breathing through fog, urging me to give in. Defiance surged. I wasn't its prey. I tore the journal's pages, shredding them. The shadows scream a wail, not human, its form dissolving into mist, the symbols dimming, the hum weakening. The house shook, walls cracking, the tunnel collapsing, stones falling, the shadow reforming, its claws slashing, grazing my arm, cold as ice, burning. I ran, the pages scattering, my flashlight dead, the moonlight ahead, not the symbol's glow, but a crack, a lifeline in the endless dark. I squeezed through, thorns tearing my skin, the shadow's scream rising, its claws scraping the stone, the chant a desperate plea, "You are ours!" The crack opened to a field, the house's silhouette receding, the night air a shock, the city's lights distant. I stumbled, collapsing in the grass, gasping, the moonlight harsh, the house's hum fading, the shadow's eyes burning in the dark, promising to follow. I burned the remaining pages, the flames green, the smoke thick with that metallic scent, the whispers fading, but not gone, a faint plea. "Thank you, but not free." I fled, the house's shadow behind me, the city's normalcy a jarring contrast, my arm bleeding, the journal's ashes scattered, but its weight lingered. I quit investigating, sold my equipment, ignored clients' calls, but the house's curse clings. My dreams are its own, the shadow's eyes glowing, the chant calling me back, the symbols pulsing alive. I wake to scratches on my arms, faint, like the symbols in that journal, gone by morning but warm, a mark of the thing I unleashed. My friends see the change, pale, jumpy, my eyes scanning for shadows that shouldn't be. I don't talk about it, but they know. Something came with me, something ancient, restless. I've searched for answers, old folklore, occult texts, finding whispers of rituals, pacts with entities called ancients, binding spirits through blood and word, freed by fire, but never truly gone. The house's records show no journal, no history, as if it was erased. But I feel it, its pulse in my chest, its chant in my dreams. I don't trust mirrors, don't look at reflections, but sometimes in a glass door I see it. Not my face, but its silver eyes, its smile promising eternity. The world feels fragile now, as if one wrong step could take me back, into the house, to the shadow, where its claws wait, ready. I hear it sometimes, a soft whisper, like a breath not mine, coming from nowhere, everywhere. I'm not sure if I escaped, if I'm free, or if I'm still there, caught in its chant, my life a shadow of what was. The house is out there, waiting, its rituals unfinished, watching for another to read its truth, to feed its endless hunger. I keep matches by my bed, check the locks, but it's no use. If the thing wants me, no door will hold it. The whispers grow louder, my name a plea, a promise, urging me to return. I fear the day I answer, the day the hum becomes my heartbeat, and I'm not me anymore, just a vessel for its curse, forever bound to the shadows I unleashed. The city's lights flicker sometimes, the air thick with that metallic scent, as if the house is closer, its doors open, its chant calling. I don't go near old buildings, don't touch old books, but the scar on my arm pulses, the symbols alive in my mind, and I know The shadow isn't gone, isn't free, and neither am I, forever marked by the night I read its truth. Silent hotels host timeless guests. The Grandview Hotel's lobby was a relic of faded elegance, its chandeliers casting a dim glow over marble floors, the air heavy with the scent of polished wood and something metallic, like old iron. I sat behind the front desk, the clock ticking past 2 a.m., my night shift dragging through the quiet hours when the city slept. Working at this century-old hotel was tedious, but the pay was decent, and the solitude suited me, until I noticed him, the guest who appeared every night, always in the same corner of the lounge, his presence a puzzle I couldn't ignore. The silence was too deep tonight, the hotel's hum of ancient pipes a faint pulse, as if it held its breath, watching. He was there again, in a high-backed chair, cloaked in a long coat, his face half hidden by a wide-brimmed hat, his hands folded, unmoving. No check-in record, no name, just there, night after night, always at the same hour, always alone. I'd catch his eyes, pale, almost glowing, unblinking, like stars in a void, watching me, not with curiosity, but with purpose, as if he knew something I didn't. "Evening," I'd say, my voice thin, but he'd only nod, his smile tight, his gaze never wavering, the air colder, the metallic scent sharper when he was near. I started keeping notes, jotting in a ledger when the manager wasn't around. He arrived at 2:17 a.m., stayed till 4, left no trace, no room key, no payment, no footsteps on the marble. I checked the guest logs. Nothing, not even a hint of his presence. One night, I followed him to the elevator, his shadow stretching too long, his steps silent, the doors closing before I could see where he went. My heart thudded, the lobby's glow dimming, the hum louder, vibrating in my chest, urging me to look closer, to know. "Curious, aren't you, Lily?" he said the next night, his voice low, resonant, catching me off guard as I polished the desk. I froze, my name unspoken to him, his eyes now visible under the hat's brim, glowing, unblinking, their light piercing. "You've noticed me," he continued, rising, his movements fluid, too smooth, his coat billowing as if stirred by an unseen wind. "I am the keeper," he said, the word heavy, final, as if it carried the weight of ages. The air thickened, charged, the hum now a chant, low and guttural, whispering my name. "Lily." I backed away, heart pounding, the desk digging into my spine. "Keeper of what?" I asked, my voice trembling, the pen in my pocket a frail comfort. He stepped closer, his smile widening, his eyes flaring, the chandelier's light flickering, casting symbols, spirals, jagged lines, across the walls, their glow sickly green, alive. "Of thresholds," he said, his voice a chorus, layered with voices not his own. "I guard the gates between worlds, and I need you." The hotel's walls pulsed, the air a pulse, the symbols flaring, urging me to kneel, to offer myself. He spoke, his words flooding my mind, visions of worlds beyond, voids of light and shadow, gates held by his will, preventing chaos from spilling through. "We tire," he said, his smile fading, his eyes weary but sharp. "New keepers are chosen. You've seen me, Lily." "You can't unsee." The symbols flared, the lobby's floor rippling, the hum a roar, the air thick with a metallic scent, like a storm about to break. I gripped the pen, my hand trembling, but his smile didn't waver, his chant pulling at my mind. Join, serve. The lobby was a cage, the exits too far, the windows sealed, the hotel alive with his presence. I bolted for the service door, the only escape, his footsteps echoing, not running but gliding, his voice a chorus. You can't run from destiny. The kitchen was dark, the back door locked, the hum deafening, the symbols now on the walls, glowing, pulsing, alive. I fumbled with the lock, my hands slick with sweat, the air cold, a whisper brushing my ear. Accept your role. The door gave way, but not to the alley. Beyond was a void, black and endless, its edges rippling, calling my name. I stumbled back, the void's pull a tide, the keeper's chant a roar, his glowing eyes piercing the dark, his hands inches from me. Serve or be lost, he said, his voice now inside my head, the symbols flaring, spiraling toward the void, a bridge to somewhere else. Panic surged, my mind screaming against his call, but the visions returned, worlds colliding, gates breaking, his voice promising purpose, eternity, if I surrendered. The pen slipped from my pocket, clattering to the floor, my resolve wavering, the void's hum a pulse in my chest, urging me to step through. A spark of defiance flared. I wasn't his. I grabbed a fire extinguisher from the wall, its weight solid, and swung it at him, his form wavering as it struck, his scream a high-pitched wail, not human. The chant broke, the symbols dimming, the void's pull weakening, but the hotel fought back, walls shifting, lights flickering, the hum a desperate roar. I dove for the door again, twisting the lock, and this time it opened to the alley. The cold air, a shock. The city's lights, a beacon. I ran, gravel crunching underfoot, his scream fading, the hotel's glow receding, but the hum lingered soft in my ears. I didn't return to work, quit the next day, ignored the manager's questions, avoided the grand view. But the keeper's face haunted me. His glowing eyes in every shadow, his chant in every quiet moment. I moved, took a day job, tried to forget, but the world felt different, too sharp, too fragile, as if I saw through its seams, glimpsed the gates he guarded. My dreams were his, worlds of fire, of shadow, his voice calling, "Lily, you're mine." I woke, gasping, my hands trembling, the hum a faint pulse, urging me to return. Weeks later, I saw him again, not in the hotel, but in a crowd, his face unchanged, his eyes glinting, watching. I ran, but he was everywhere, on buses, in stores, his smile tight, his hands tracing symbols only I could see. One night, alone in my new apartment, the hum returned, not from outside, but within, a pulse in my chest, warm, alive. My reflection in the window wasn't mine, my face, but his eyes, glowing, his chant in my ears, "You can't refuse, you've seen." I fought it, locked my doors, covered my mirrors, but the hum grew, the symbols appearing, on walls, in dreams, etched in my mind. The city's lights flickered, the air thick with that metallic scent, the world bending, as if his reality bled through. I found a mark on my wrist, faint, like a spiral, warm to the touch, pulsing when I closed my eyes. His voice was clear now, not a threat, but a promise. Serve and see. I resisted, but each night the hum was louder, the world's clearer, his truths a weight I couldn't unlearn. One night, I couldn't fight anymore. The hum was a roar, the symbols flaring in my apartment, the air rippling. a void opening, not black but bright, a kaleidoscope of worlds, his voice welcoming. "Step through, servant." I stepped forward, not out of fear but need, the city dissolving, the void a rush of light and sound, my body weightless, my mind expanding. I landed in a place of endless horizons, worlds overlapping, their gates held by my will, my role clear. I was his servant, bound to his cause, seeing truths no one should. I'm still here, in this between place, my eyes glowing, my hands tracing symbols that guard the gates. The hotel, the city, my life, they're distant, like shadows on a screen, glimpsed through the thresholds I serve. I see the keeper now, my master, his face resolute, his chants my own, keeping chaos at bay. But the cost is heavy, my name, my past, fading, replaced by the hum, the pulse, the truths I carry, too vast, too heavy. Sometimes I see the grand view in my visions, its chandelier buzzing, a new clerk at the desk, unaware of the guest, his glowing eyes watching, waiting. I want to warn them, to scream, but my voice is the chant, my will the gate, my life no longer mine. The worlds are endless, their secrets mine to guard, but I fear the day the gates break and I'm not strong enough to hold them. The hum is my heartbeat now, the chant my breath, and I'm not sure if I'm a servant or a prisoner, forever bound to the timeless truths I serve.